In this video, we're going to be dealing with one of the most common problems with reinforced concrete when you're pouring and when the contractor's doing the work. We're also going to look at why you really can't trust a computer without a little bit of foreknowledge and some expectations. And we're also going to have the bonus technical fact. Stick around to the end of the video for that. I hope you enjoy it. Welcome to Strength, Stability, Stiffness. It's Saturday. I'm not ready. I've got no script. The office isn't set up the way I wanted yet, and I just can't help but make this the first video. To be clear, I had no intention of this being the first video. Dan, my colleague, and I, who are working on these videos together, have a whole series of videos that we want to talk about. But I couldn't help but talk about this today because twice in the last 2 weeks, I've seen YouTubers I really appreciate and enjoy watching who do great content, who really have salient points, and every time I watch their stuff, I find it interesting or useful to send to someone a simple explanation about something. And it just boggles my mind that I keep seeing strange mistakes that really bother me. So I want to get into them. Real Engineering is a great site that talks wonderfully interestingly about lots of engineering subjects, and one of his videos was talking about concrete and rebar and the fact that reinforcing bar goes inside the concrete and that's part of what gives it its strength. And he was showing what looked like stock video of concrete being poured and done in place. The problem is, during one of the segments, he's showing very incorrect behavior. The reinforcing mat is already down in place on the flat without chairs, no elevation. Reinforcing bars should be placed first on chairs prior to concrete being poured. If the concrete is poured first, and many contractors want to do this, all the time we see this, contractors want to go around and hook the cage up and pull it up through the concrete while the concrete is still in what we call the plastic state. The problem is that traveling of the bar through the concrete causes paste, the finer, lighter, small, fine aggregates, and whatever cementitious material, as well as water, to mix into a bit of a slurry, we call it paste, underneath the bars. So instead of the bars being properly surrounded by a good, graded variety of sizes, large aggregate, small aggregate, properly placed, vibrated to remove as much air as possible, instead you get this strange inverted teardrop of paste around the bar and beneath the bar, and it robs strength from the slab, from the beams, from whatever you're working with when this hookup is done. No mention of that. Stock footage, interesting video, great, fine. A small detail, bothered me a bit, I moved on. Today I'm watching Valuetainment, who I really enjoy, again, great YouTuber, and what do we have? A talk about how universities are worried about college degrees being meaningless to large companies. And again, he's making great points. I'm really entertained. I find it interesting. His whole argument is a very well thought out and correct in my mind in many ways. And I was already starting to think, but hold on, how do we have this happen for professions? I mean, when we get a young engineer into the office, she or he has no idea what the real job is like. They just have no clue. But they have the basic knowledge that we can build upon, teach them about the things they need to know to be a professional engineer, and they are ready to learn those things. They need the strong basis in physics, chemistry, mathematics, you name it. There are so many subjects that the university degree at the bachelor's level gives you to be an engineer. We can't do without it. So the argument was already a little strange for me, and it really didn't fit with what I thought was correct. But I appreciate Google, these high-tech companies, IBM, whatever, some banks he was mentioning. I can see how they would think a 4-year degree is not necessarily required for what they do. Maybe they're talking about 3-year degrees, maybe there's other things, maybe there's other routes, maybe they're doing internal training. He made a great point about how the computer science degrees are out of date, or many people consider them out of date within 3 years after graduation. And I can understand that. The speed with which things change, Moore's Law, 18 months to doubling, all of these sorts of things. Fine. But then he showed that your wise uncle, the guy that you'd call, dial a friend if you were on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, that knowledge, the knowing the information at hand is no longer important and you don't need it anymore. That is absolutely false. It couldn't be more false, and it immediately got proven in his own video. He turns to Siri, what does he say? Siri, who was the 23rd president of the United States? boop, whoever the hell it is, fact comes out, bam, 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 no problem. What does he do next? Siri, what's 27,227 divided by 13? Bop, Siri comes back, 227 divided by 13. Whoa, whoa, whoa. And he starts talking about, can you do it as fast as Siri? Can you do it as fast as Alexa? Are you able to keep up with this? You don't need it. That's such malarkey. It is a joke. I can get it right. I can use a calculator. I can use a slide rule. I can use a template. I can use spreadsheets. There are so many things I can use. Hell, I can do an abacus and do a better job of Siri getting it wrong. AI is a black box. Engineers have to watch for that. There are more disasters that have been caused by black box confidence. We don't get to have faith in those sorts of tools. Faith is believing without seeing. We can't do that. If you're going to use a tool as an engineer, you have to know how it works. We base so many of our tools on spreadsheets, and if we do go to things, and there are things that we can't see the insides of course. There's stuff where we're doing matrix analysis and high-end mathematics, and there's tables and matrices that are being crunched in the computer. Fine. We need those computer tools, but they must be, they have to have been verified, vetted, tested against standard tests, and then every time we get an answer, we have to be able to see for ourselves whether or not that answer is reasonable. That answer must be in a certain range, or you immediately disbelieve it. When we have young engineers start, we often hand them a slide rule. Most engineers these days haven't seen a slide rule. Many of the engineers these days, their parents haven't seen slide rules. But slide rules fundamentally guard against the black box, the inherent error that occurs without you even knowing it. When he asked Siri for math, that math answer came back wrong, and he bowled right on, saying very confidently, can you do it as well? Can you get the answer right? Well, no, he didn't say get the answer right. I'm saying that at least I can get the answer right. I might be slower than Siri, and I doubt it. The calculator I've been using since I was in high school is the same one I use now. I bet you I can beat that. 227, 220, boom, done. No problem. And I will get it right. Because AI is imperfect. Most of our tools are imperfect. The number of engineering disasters that are based upon engineers being overconfident in their tools, looking at even cases where foremen, very experienced people, site supervisors, project managers have come to this design engineer and said, hey, I don't like this, something doesn't look right, I'm worried, and the engineers have faith in what? The computer's answer. There is no answer from the computer. There is a suggestion. A professional engineer makes that into an answer. Second set of eyes, verification based on what you already know. First, knowing how to look at somebody else's work based on codes and standards, to see one, to assist one, to do one. These are pillars of our profession, and they are dying. I'm not saying that our firm is perfect. Where I work has problems too. Everybody's always going to have a hard time. We're only human. We're going to make mistakes. But if you're having so much confidence in your black box that you can look at something like Siri and ask a question and not even think about the answer, we are doomed. These computers are just another layer of promise. This advanced version of computers with these artificial intelligence systems and all of this, it's just the next promise. And as a society, as a species, as a humanity as a whole, we have to be careful. We have to look at them and use them as the tools they are. These are not miracle machines. You can't immediately have faith in what they say. Just like everybody predicted the death of paper in the office, and computers made 100 times the number of paper sheets be consumed by office environments. Now we're finally cresting that. What, 40 years after the promise? We're starting to see an end to all of this paperwork, and it's still not dead. Many places won't accept electronic submission. They won't deal with stuff. There are legal problems on signing things electronically. These promises are just another pie in the sky until they are reality. And if you ask Siri what the answer is to a math question, you better have a decent idea of what the answer should be, or you're going to be wrong. And it's not Siri's fault. It's yours. Well, here's the bonus technical fact. I'm glad you stuck around. Most engineers and most practicing people in the industry will actually think that there's really one or two types of concrete. That's simply not true. The type of concrete is actually a little bit of a misnomer most of the time. When you go online, you'll see lots of articles talking about the types of concrete, and they'll list all sorts of things. They'll be talking about self-consolidating concrete and high fly ash concrete and stamped concrete. These aren't really different types of concrete. These are all variations on the theme of Portland cement concrete. Portland cement concrete is an attempt to replicate ancient Roman concrete, which was mythical within the engineering community for hundreds of years for its ability to do a great job, for sticking around for thousands of years, for performing, and really being an all-around amazing chemical composition of concrete. And actually, we don't really know exactly how they were making it. But what I can tell you is that when it comes down to types of concrete, that's not what people are really talking about. They're talking about types of Portland cement concrete. What we should be talking about for types of concrete are the things that you might be really surprised by. What you drive on half the time is asphaltic concrete. Concrete, the term itself, really means a mixture of gravel, often smaller and larger aggregates, so stone, a binder to mix it together to make it actually form one homogeneous mass. And as such, it's the type of binder that really leads to different types of concrete. Asphaltic concrete uses bituminous or tar-based binders, sticking everything together, and the hot roller goes over it, tries to pull out some of those shorter chain molecules, the softness of it. It's really very malleable, and it stays pretty flexible. You should have some familiarity with that, with playing with basketball on it and these sorts of things, and seeing it worked on, and the smell as you drive down the road. Then cementitious materials, these are the things like pozzolana and often cement itself, fly ash. But again, these are not complete replacements for cement. Portland cement is still required. The added cementitious materials reduce the proportion of cement, which is actually produced by baking lime, and ultimately does have some environmental consequences until it's hydrated, which brings back in some of those off gases and becomes a carbon sink in a way. But the other types of concrete are things like limecrete, where there really isn't any Portland cement concrete, but then the lime can leach over time. And the real oddball, the one that people don't talk about, is sulfur crete. This is elemental sulfur heated up typically in a kettle and then mixed with stones and poured hot into place. This has been used hundreds of years and it is extremely effective. I worked in New Zealand for a number of years, and in New Zealand you can still see farmers' fences between areas where sheep, and I know the cliche, but it really is where sheep were grazing, and they would stick these metal posts, often iron, in holes in the rock with sulfur crete. And this is still performing very well to this day. It's been recently under some research by the Iranians, which is very interesting. They've published some papers in English that I thought were very interesting and very engaging. I think also, if I was to be a little political, I think engineers are one of the things that can actually reach between different countries and kind of skirt around the politics. At least we can talk about the technical things that help people live their lives and keep them alive. I hope you've enjoyed the bonus technical fact. See you next time. So I've managed to get that passion out, and I've calmed myself down. It's the end of the first video, and I suppose I just wanted to have a little bit of a recording of something as a nice sign-off. I'm hoping that people enjoy these videos. I'm hoping that young engineers and young engineering students find them useful. I'm planning to do any subject that people ask for a little bit of a video on, some explanation. Our Monday morning tech meetings are probably going to be recorded and posted on this channel as well. We often deal with all sorts of things that new engineers encounter in the field. With any luck, you guys find them interesting. I'm looking forward to the comments and to the discussion that might happen around them. I also look forward to interacting with other YouTubers. I'm hoping that nobody takes any insult from what I'm saying. That's not intended. I think people have done great work, and I have a lot to aspire to, but ultimately, sometimes the mistakes just aren't okay. And if we ignore them and we carry on, somebody's going to possibly learn something that's incorrect. And I guess that really forced me to make this the first video. I'm happy that you actually stuck with us. If you're watching this part, thank you so much. Look forward to another video, and stay safe out there.
Hey Siri, who was the 23rd president of the United States of America?
The answer is Benjamin Harrison, from March 4th, 1889 to March 4th,
Okay.
1893.
Simple fact, no trouble.
You're not very good at math. Watch this one here. Hey Siri, what is 27,227 divided by 13?
227 divided by 13 is about 17.4615.
Can you do it as quickly as Siri does it?
Oh, I could get it right? When she got it wrong? Jackass.